What up, fellow Marauders? It's your boy Kels, aka Special K, back again. I know it's been a while. We shouldn't have left you, but we're back. Culture Marauders. It is Friday, October 9th, 2020. Last time you saw us, I think it was the end of August, so it's been a little bit. Of course, I have my lovely wife here, Rena. She's joining us. Say hi to everybody.
What's up? Go Tampa.
Yep, that's right. The Rays are in the divisional series against the Yankees. Game 5 tonight. Winner takes all. So, the city of Tampa is pumped. The Rays have already, or not the Rays, but the Lightning have already taken care of business last week. As you can see, our guest here, she is in full Tampa mode.
Hey.
full Bay Boogie mode tonight. So,
ready, let's go.
there it is. So fellow Marauders, thank you for coming in with us again. Like I said, it's been a while, but it's the freaking weekend, so we're gonna have some fun tonight. And with a culture shot, it's something we do every now and again. Just when we got some information we want to kick out to y'all. Culture Marauders, the show where we maraud on all culture and deliver the goods to the masses, aka you, the listeners and the viewers out there who we sincerely appreciate. So. We're going to get into it. But before we do, I want to drop a little knowledge on y'all today. So today in history, we have Ernesto Che Guevara was executed today. So, and if you don't know who Che is, he was the Marxist socialist who was Fidel Castro's right-hand man and played a key role in Castro's coup of the Cuban government in 1959. He was born to a well-off family in Argentina in 1928, studied medicine at the University of Buenos Aires, and, took some time off to travel, find himself. And, there's a movie out there called The Motorcycle Diaries that chronicles Che's journey and his early life. He took the time to travel, witnessing the poverty and oppression of the lower class in Latin America. So this, motivated him. He went back, finished up his degree, but then, went back to traveling a little bit more and became more involved with left-wing organizations. He met Castro in the mid-1950s, and after their takeover of Cuba, Guevara became Castro's minister of industry, whatever that means. He strongly opposed the U.S. domination in Latin America and led peasant-based revolutions to combat social injustice in third world countries. So in April of 1965, Guevara left his position with after Cuba's economic and foreign policies weren't really in line with what he was kind of feeling at the time. A lot of rumors say that him and Castro had a falling out. And, he was asked to step away, or I'm pretty sure there are other consequences. So he took the smart road and left, where he was underground for a little bit, and but resurfaced in Bolivia and organized a band of guerrillas to continue his movement. But it wasn't so easy this time. So, the U.S.-backed Bolivian army captured him on October 8th, 1967, and Guevara was executed the next day, October 9th. And, and that was the end of his story. They cut off his hands to show the proof and buried him, in Bolivia. And they found his remains in 1997, returned him to Cuba, where Castro held a big celebration and hailed him as a hero. So there's a lot of controversy about Guevara. Said he was, he was a revolutionary to some and a murderer to others. It all depends on who you ask, right? So when you see that kid rocking the Che Guevara with the beret and the star and the stoic look, that Hot Topic shirt, you got a little background on why he's rocking it. So, so there's your history for today. Ernesto Che Guevara was executed. So long story short. So, talking politics and everything, we're in the, from what I understand, we're in a season of politics, right? There's some big things coming up. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be good birthday presents right after my birthday.
So with that being said, today, fellow Marauders, we are talking about voting and voter education. With that being said, on today's Culture Shot, we have our special guest, Ms. Liz Lebron, Voter Outreach Manager for Pinellas County here in beautiful sunny Tampa, Florida. Well, sunny at least for the next day because it's supposed to rain all weekend, but we'll take it while we get it. So welcome, Liz. Thank you for marauding with us. And how you doing?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. Happy super early birthday. And I am going to put my mail ballot in the mail tomorrow just for you. So happy birthday.
Yay!
One gift, about 1,000 million more.
That's right. Hopefully a lot more. So tell us about yourself, Liz. So like I said, you're the Voter Outreach Manager for Pinellas County. What all does that entail? Tell the fellow Marauders out there what you do for us.
So I have one of the best jobs of anyone in the county. My job is to go around and talk to people about civic participation, I get to go to all of the public schools in the county and talk to students about registering to vote, why voting is so important, what the elected officials in the county do, what kinds of decisions they make. I go talk to folks like you, your audience members. I go to senior centers, senior living facilities, anybody in the county who wants to learn more about what we do, how we hold elections, and how to vote. That's what I get to do all the time. So I get to have help people engage with the electoral process. And I'm so fortunate. And thank you for welcoming me to your program.
Hey, this is a gift for us because usually we got to beg people to come on. So we'll tell you how we get it. Thank you so much. No, just joking. We got a lot of loyal followers out there. We got a couple people watching tonight. So thank you again for, stopping by. I know it's Friday night. You probably want to chill and hang out, but hey, we'll make it worth your while. I promise. So
I have nowhere to go. So
I know, right? Silly me. I forgot. We're in the middle of a pandemic. So, so before we get into it, right? So this is what I like to do with all my guests. This is where you just come up and just talk business and leave. No. We are on a whole different level with this. So we do a little thing we call the icebreaker, where, I got some cards in my hands right here, nothing special. So I'm gonna draw from these. Actually, I'm gonna let Karina pick. And this is from a game that I really think is really cool. We've been playing with this for a while. It's called One's Gotta Go. But with one question, I'm gonna ask you. Ooh, actually, it's this question. All right, you gotta bring one of these people back. All right, if you could bring any one of these people back, tell us why and who and why. All right, so here it is. The first one. Who are you gonna bring back? Bob Marley, Prince, Whitney Houston, or Michael Jackson?
Oh.
Yeah.
There's only one choice for me, and that is Prince.
Yeah.
All day, every day. He just wants, he blesses my life all the time, and he just wasn't done. He had so much more to give. And I'm sorry, but he wrote, "I Would Die for You." And I was done. I was like, yep, this is the man. So without a doubt, Prince.
How many times you seen Purple Rain?
Oh, mercy. Stop. How many times overall, or just when he died, it was like
period. How many times would you estimate you've seen Purple Rain?
Dozens.
not a couple, dozens. All right, fair enough. Yeah. So big Prince fan. Let's get one more before we get into it. All right. So this is One's Gotta Go. You got to get rid of one of these. Here, I'll let you read it this time. Go ahead.
All right. One's Gotta Go. Frosted Flakes, Lucky Charms, Fruit Loops, or Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
Fruit Loops.
Yeah, I can say that.
Yeah, they get soggy if you leave them too long in milk. They don't hold up well.
Something always wasn't right. I remember even as a kid being like, oh, we got Fruit Loops.
Yeah, disappointed, right? Yeah, we see a lot of Fruit Loops as a kid, and just disappointment,
All the sugar comes off them too quick in the milk.
Yeah, you're right. Not a good brand from Kellogg's or a good selection from Kellogg's, but hey, it is what it is. So there it is. Look, Liz.
We broke you in nicely.
Yeah, we broke you in. We took it easy on you. We took it easy on you this time. But nevertheless, you are a fellow Marauder, so you are forever a friend of the show. Well, depending on how this interview goes. But as it stands right now, you are a friend of the show. So let's not mess this up. We'll keep you in the good graces.
All right. Forever BFFs. Let's do
it. There it is. Friendship bracelets and everything. So, all right. So moving on. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into it, right? So voter registration in 2020. So with your position, in Pinellas County, you talked about all the people that you reach out to, people you're talking to. So how is it going? I know registration just ended last week, if I'm not mistaken, right?
This week. And let me tell you, this was a very unusual season to register people to vote.
Surprise.
So, COVID has had everybody on lockdown. So all of the places we normally go to register people, they've been closed. So we had to transition. That doesn't excuse our office from doing our jobs, which is to, bring registration to the people. So we just had to rethink how we do this on the fly. And we started doing virtual registrations. I mean, I held an event for 4,400 people, virtual. So in a way, it's been a blessing because there's people who wouldn't have been able to participate if we had been doing live events. right? Maybe they couldn't get off work early enough, or they had to go pick up the kids after school, but because it was virtual, they could tune in, they could just pop in on their phones and do it. And some of the organizations that we work with, so the really large event that I did was with Mi Familia Vota.
Hmm.
And because the voter registration application is the same all over the state, they actually had all of their chapters in Florida tune in. There's no way I'd have an event with 4,400 people. So, I mean, I was blessed, to get to talk to 4,400 people. And if even 10% of them registered to vote, I mean, wow, what a difference that can make in their communities, So in a way, it was a huge challenge because I couldn't go in person and talk to people, and I'm very outgoing and I love interacting with people. I like being out there in the community, and not being able to do that has been difficult. But I wouldn't have gotten all of the interaction that I have gotten, even though it was virtual, any other way. So it was both a blessing and a curse, but more of a blessing.
Okay. So I'm looking at Pinellas's numbers as of today, right? So we got 710,298 people.
Yeah.
And that's quite a bit just for the county. Do you think that, with the virtual events that you're holding and stuff like that, do you think those numbers were driven by that? Or how much of an increase have you seen, from the beginning of your work up until, this point with this number right here?
So I started in this office in January. So a month after I started, COVID kind of crept in. So I really only got to do my job in the before times for about a month. And I will tell you, the presidential primary was in March. And in that primary, when the voter registration deadline hit, we had 544,000 people registered to vote.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So the difference was from March until now, right? Okay. So I think what my office does and what so many organizations, there's a lot of nonprofits who work on get out the vote initiatives in election times. I think everybody pivoting to virtual, really kicked it into high gear, because that difference, 544 to 710, that all happened from March till now. So, it has not slowed down.
That's good. That's very cool. Do you think what we're seeing on the news and in our everyday lives, and how the pandemic has been handled, and we've seen the debate, right? So the couple of debates. Do you think that's also kind of driven people to go and register? Do you think that's played a role in that?
What we've seen is an uptick in vote by mail applications, for sure. So not only people registering to vote, but people requesting mail ballots. People are afraid. They don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty. So people have really opted for mailing ballots. But I have to say, Pinellas County was really a leader in pushing vote by mail even before COVID. So we had a really high percentage of our voters who requested mail ballots. Now we're at around 55%.
Okay.
Yeah. So we saw a huge uptick in that. And as you know, we have a lot of elderly folk in our community. So just trying to keep them safe, trying to keep them healthy. And we're definitely seeing an uptick. So definitely a push for people, not only to engage and vote, but also to vote by mail and make sure that no matter what's going on in November, we don't know what election day is going to look like.
Right.
People want to vote. And that's really great to see that they're taking the time to request those mail ballots.
That's good. That's very good. Did you have anything to ask?
Yeah. So with the mail-in ballots, there's a lot of controversy on that the mail-in ballots aren't going to make it in. They're finding them in the trash, especially, they said some military ballots that were in. And mail-in ballots have been going on for a while. You have been able to mail in your vote for decades. So how safe is it? Can you, let us know kind of like that process of how is my vote going to get counted if I mail it in?
Sure. So vote by mail is extremely safe. Like I said, it's something that we've been doing for a long time in Pinellas County. So yes, we've seen an uptick, but our office was already used to dealing with a really high volume of mail ballots. We have the equipment to do it. We have the processes in place to do it. We have the staff to do it. So is it a challenge to have more of them than usual? Sure. But we were already expecting a high number. I will say, as far as the post office, if you go on our Twitter feed, which is at Vote Pinellas, we're seeing people who said, hey, mail ballots went out the 29th and I got my ballot 2 days later. Somebody tweeted at me today, I sent in my ballot, and 2 days later, I went on the votepinellas.com and saw that it had already been received. So it's anecdotal, but so far, we have not had that experience. So far, our experience has been great. We haven't had people say, no, I haven't received my ballot, or, I sent my ballot a week ago and I still don't see that it showed up. So we haven't experienced that. So, definitely do that. But also, we've had a lot of people go to our office and drop it off in person, which people are certainly welcome to do. October 19th, we will have 25 ballot drop-off locations, including our 3 offices. But right now, today, anybody can drop off their mail ballot at our office. We have one in Largo, one in Clearwater, one in St. Pete, and we've seen lots and lots of people doing that. So, but to get back to the safety of voting by mail, it is extremely safe to vote by mail. I can tell you, we look at each and every signature on the ballot envelopes. And, a lot of people don't realize that. So far we've mailed out, I think, over 380,000 mail ballots. So somebody in our office will look at each and every one of those envelopes. I spent a few hours looking today at signatures. So we actually do look at them. I spent a couple hours talking to voters that there was a discrepancy in the signature. We reach out to them right away so that their ballot can count.
Nice.
So yes, absolutely. We do go through that step. I mentioned the 25 ballot drop-off locations. We have staff that stays with those boxes the entire time.
Really?
The ballot you drop off, they come back to our office every single day. They don't just stay out with the box, so there's a chain of command, chain of custody with the, they're never unattended. All of that stuff is sealed, and we take great care of everybody's ballot, tracking each and every one. We don't leave the office until every ballot is accounted for. If a ballot arrives in our office, we know where it is at all times. There's a team of dedicated folks who work an obscene amount of hours during election time to make sure that your ballot is safe, that it's counted, that if there is a discrepancy, we text you, we call you, we send you a letter. We really go out of our way to connect with you and make sure that you have an opportunity to come and show us your ID and we count your ballot. So our team is really dedicated to keeping everybody's vote safe.
Very cool. So, let me ask you, do you see that, is this normal, like standard operating procedure, or maybe just because of what's going on and maybe the fear of, mail-in ballots being tampered with, that maybe the security is a little bit more heightened this time? Or is this normally how you guys operate?
This is actually how we normally operate. Yeah, this is our normal stuff. And like I said, because we already had a high number of people who vote by mail in Pinellas, all of this was already in place. So we're really lucky. I do know that there are other counties, maybe other states, where this is a little bit unusual, and they've had to, come up with these procedures sort of on the fly. And it can be a challenge. I'm not going to lie. It is difficult to pivot if you're not used to doing this. But our team has been doing this for a long time. We have election staff that has worked in our office for sometimes decades. So, there's a woman that I work with who has been in our office. She's been a poll worker for 40 years.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yes. They love it. They take it very seriously. So we have people on our team who have been doing this a very long time. We always have security in the building. There's always security on election day, but everything I just described is normal. We did add one thing. We do have the Trop as a drop-off site.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that's right. Yeah. Fellow Marauders, that's the Trop, where the Rays play. So yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So there's your voter registration information for Pinellas. So let's get into a little bit more of the education portion of it, right? So what are your rights as a registered voter here in Pinellas County?
So you have a right to come and cast your ballot in secret. You have a right to come and cast your ballot and not be bothered by any sort of political activity. Certainly our team is not there to bother you with any of those things. And we take great care, again, to follow the law and make sure that there's no political activity at any of our polling locations. You have a right, our office is non-partisan, so I never go to any school or any event and endorse any position or any candidate. I'm only here to provide information to people about how to vote. And I take that extremely seriously. It wouldn't be fair to anybody in the process if anyone in my office were to do something like that. So when you come cast your ballot, you're not going to encounter anything like that. And you have the right to vote in a safe manner. So again, we take great care with people's ballots. And because of COVID, we're also taking precautions to make sure that our team is wearing masks, that our polling locations are clean and safe. So those are really your rights as a voter, and we take them very seriously.
Okay. And that's a serious thing. Like, a lot of people, they'll give you a social security number before they tell you anything about who they're voting for or the process. So it's one of those things where it's near and dear to their hearts. And that's really cool that y'all create an environment and acknowledge those rights of those registered voters. Do you often get people who maybe missed the cutoff or didn't register and try to slide in there and maybe cast a vote?
There's always, those are always circumstances we try to avoid for sure. There's always somebody, but, to be fair, we have to enforce the law and follow the law and the rules for everybody. So, just like when the polls close, we can't let somebody come in and vote at 8:00. We have to be fair to everybody. So our team is just there to follow the law. And we try our hardest to give people opportunities to register and request mail ballots time for the deadline. But yeah, we have to follow the law.
Okay. And that's all you can do. You follow the law, you ain't wrong. So there it is.
There you go.
All right. You got anything?
On the day of, you're asking her a question about that. On the day of election day, is there any more heightened security? Because of, everything going on, there seems to be, a lot of rioting, a lot of marching still, lots of people protest. Are there going to be increased security at the ballots?
Polling stations?
Not necessarily at the polling station, but we do have security measures in place to get the ballots back to our office. We don't have, if you're talking about the actual polling locations, we don't have a police presence at the polling locations. We don't want people to feel intimidated either. And these are normally not issues that we have at our polling locations. We do have security in our building, which is where we're tabulating the ballots and actually processing them. So we want to make sure, by the way, when I say we have security, I also want to point out, our office is a public building. Our proceedings are open to the public. So we have a viewing area that's open to the public. Anybody can come in while the canvassing board is meeting and observe those proceedings. So we do have a space for the public to be engaged in the process and participate. But we also have to have boundaries. There are places in the building when we're processing ballots that people just cannot be. Right. So we do have security in place to make sure that, everybody's rights are protected. So those public spaces are, safe for everybody, but also that our staff and our team is protected, and the space that we need to process the ballots and conduct the election fairly, that those spaces are also safe.
Okay. All right. And that sounds like a lot of work. Like so when this is all over, do y'all get like a break? Do y'all shut down or do
pizza party?
Yeah, he said pizza party. Do y'all shut down or how does the day after work? Like let's say November 4th, right? How does that what I know, right? You probably can't wait. What does that look like for y'all?
So I'm so glad you asked me that question, because Mom, if you're listening, this is for you. So the last election, my sister called me at 8 on election day, and I was like, why are you calling me at 8?
Who won?
And my sister was like, well, the polls closed at 7. And I was like, yeah, for you guys, that's when our work begins. Sure. So election day is not the end of the line for us by far. So we have a series of election related activity that goes on for about 12 days after our normal election, right? This is not a recount election, right? So remember, our service members who are overseas
right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So we accept their ballots to 10 days after election day. So we're still processing ballots as they come in. We definitely don't want to turn away our men and women in uniform. So that's still going on. And those results that you see on election day, those are not the official results, right? So after the election, we're still dealing with people who maybe had to cast a provisional ballot, or if we had an issue with somebody's signature on their mail ballot, people have until 5 o'clock, 2 days after the election, so November 5th, 5 o'clock, to cure their ballots or resolve any issues we had on election day when they had to vote a provisional ballot. So we're still processing those things. The canvassing board is still meeting. The day after the election, so fun fact, we're there until whatever time. We get there at 5 a.m. and we're at the election site until we can go home, whatever time that is. If it's 2 o'clock in the morning, so be it. The next day, 8 o'clock, everybody. Because, we have to get ready for an audit. So we come in the next day and we start sorting out ballots, getting ready for our audit, because we actually run the whole election. We tabulate all of the ballots to make sure that what we counted on election day is accurate.
Okay.
So no rest for the weary. I mean, really, I would say no earlier than Thanksgiving will anybody have any days off. And that's if there's, if everything runs smoothly. But yeah, we'll be in election mode well after election day.
Well, looking at who we have in office right now, I wouldn't count even Thanksgiving. You might want to look more like Boxing Day in December from Canada. I don't know. So, I'm hoping it goes smooth, and I respect whatever way it goes, but as long as it's fair and as long as it's done right, So I mean, that's you gotta take it. So
that's our goal for sure. No matter who wins, no matter who loses, our goal is that the residents of Pinellas County can look at our office and say, this election was conducted fairly.
Mm-hmm.
We can see the process. It's a transparent process, and we can go back if there's any questions. So this is the purpose of the audit, right? We go back and show, hey, what we told you happened on election day is what happened. Here it is. Let's run it again. And here it is. You can see, that it's the same thing. So that's really our goal. No matter who wins, who loses, that's what we need to be able to look at the voters of this county and say, we conducted this election correctly.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Hey, fellow Marauders, for all of you guys just tuning in, you are viewing The Culture Shot with our guest, Ms. Liz Lebron, Voter Outreach Manager for Pinellas County, and she is laying down the good stuff on us about not only, voter registration rights, but also how the process has been running so far this year. And, the numbers have grown. You said from 500,000 to 700 since March. Significant growth, and everybody's really in tune with what's happening and getting out there and registering to vote. So we transition over to the next question, right? So what are some of the myths and misconceptions about voting?
Gosh, so many. So I would say number one myth that I hear a lot is that we don't count all mail ballots. And that is absolutely not true. We count all eligible mail ballots. So like I said, sometimes if we have a question about a signature, there are times when we're not able to resolve that, right? We call, we text, we send a letter, and we don't hear back from the voter. The canvassing board might decide, we can't verify this signature, and they may not accept that ballot. But that's a very, very, very small percentage. Don't quote me on this, but I believe in the last election, it was 0.04%.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very, very low. So that's the number one myth that I hear all the time when I talk to people. If I vote by mail, it's not going to count. That's not true. We count each and every ballot, including up to 10 days after the election when we're still receiving ballots from overseas. Another thing, so this goes back to the issue of, is voting by mail safe? There's some questions about whether or not we'll be done counting on election day. So some people may not know that Florida law allows us to start opening ballots ahead of the election. So on Monday, and this is open to the public, so anybody can come to our office and watch this process happen. On Monday, we will start opening any mail ballots that we have received so far. And the way this is done, again, it's open to the public, but our canvassing board, which is the supervisor of elections, a county judge, and a county commissioner, that's our canvassing board. They oversee this process. So they're there to observe and make sure that, nobody's, doing anything untoward to any of the ballots, right? They're watching the process. On Wednesday, we start tabulating mail ballots. So when you see that initial count on election day, that includes mail ballots that we have received until about 6 o'clock on election day. And you can actually, if you have a mail ballot, you can go to our website and track it. It'll show you the day that we sent it, when we receive it back from you, and it'll show when it's counted, right? So you can see, if next Wednesday we count your ballot, you'll be able to see, okay, they've tabulated my ballot. We don't release any results, but you can see that we have run your ballot and tabulated it. That is by far the biggest one. I get a lot of misconceptions about voting by mail. Trying to think of one on election day. This isn't a myth, but it's a misconception that I hear sometimes. So if you are in line at 7 o'clock on election day, you can still vote, right? So if the polls close and you are in line, sit tight. We're there with you. We're hanging in there with you until you cast your ballot. So don't go anywhere because you have the right to vote.
Okay, so does it work like, hey, you're in line, and then let's say you get there at like 7:55, 8 o'clock, anything behind you gets cut off. Is that correct?
Well, the polls close at 7, so don't get there at 7:55.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
It'll be way too late.
No. Yeah, but you get there at 6:55 and you're still standing in line. If you're in line at 7 o'clock, you have a right to vote. So please sit tight, don't leave. Okay.
Let's try to be there early. When's the start? What's the start time?
7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
7 a.m.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
Can't be last minute on this.
No. It's too important. You can't mess around with this. Like we're trying to go to dinner. She's sitting there doing makeup for like 30 minutes. I'm telling her, hurry up. We can't mess around with stuff like this. So here's something.
Vote early, October 19th.
That's what I want to know.
First, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Every day you can go and vote. We have 5 locations,
right?
No excuses.
You can probably do mail-in, and everything starts around that time.
Mail-in, right? And in person.
In person.
Well, mail-in has already begun. We mailed out any ballot requests that we already had on file. We mailed them out September 29th. So we've received, and actually you can go right on our website and see the most up-to-date count. So I haven't looked at it to see how many we got today, but it should be somewhere around 70,000 that we've received so far. Maybe a little bit less, but if you go to votepinellas.com, right there on our homepage, it'll show you how many we've received.
Cool. I want to ask you about another, I guess, misconception. If you have a criminal record, you can't vote. So I know I was reading an article in Snoop Dogg, right? So he said he's never voted, and he's voting for the first time this election. And he said the reason why he never did is because he thought because he had a prior criminal record that he can't vote. And so that wasn't true. And so he's voting for the very first time now. Can you kind of clear or talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So there are some instances where people have their right to vote revoked, right? And some mental health diagnoses, right? So the court can say this person is not capable of, voting. They're not able to formulate a vote for themselves, right? So sometimes the court does revoke that for some mental health diagnoses. And then if you have a felony conviction, right? But you can have your right to vote restored, right? And that is a case-by-case basis. I'm sure you've heard a lot about that in the news. A lot of people don't know that we actually have someone in our office who works with returning citizens, right? So if you have served your sentence and you believe that you should be able to register, please do not hesitate to contact our office. We have somebody there who works with returning citizens and can help. I know it can be kind of confusing. So we're there to help navigate that process. And there's also a division of civil rights, restoration of civil rights, and they can help people navigate that process. So I always tell people, don't hesitate to reach out, because if we can help you, we definitely want to get you on the voter rolls.
There it is. You heard it here first from the lady herself. She's telling you there's a way. So don't let just because you got some dirt on you, you may be eligible. So please, please, please go ahead and look into it. Look on the website, make that contact, and go ahead and take care of business and get that vote in. Thank you, Liz, for that.
Yeah.
Snoop's gonna vote. You can vote too.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows what Snoop's been up to?
Call me. Snoop. I know you have a vacation home in Florida. Give your girl a call.
So I want to go, get on the next question. So, you said you're going around, you're talking to a lot of the colleges and the elderly and stuff like that. So first time in young voters, how is that process looking, and what are you doing? How does your message go across to them? Because, a lot of people, older people, yeah, they probably voted or haven't voted in a long time, but they're familiar with the process for the most part. With first time and young voters, how is that different, and what are y'all doing to get that message out to them?
Well, so now we're back to the number one misconception about voting, and that is that your vote doesn't matter, right? It is the number one reason young people give me for not registering to vote or not voting. They think, oh, my vote doesn't matter. So whenever I speak to a group of students, I always tell them, I'm supposed to be there to register them to vote. And I always tell them, you guys are smart. You have Google. You don't need me to help you register to vote. You can look that up. But I do want to talk to you about why, right? Because if you don't have a why you should vote, you're not going to bother looking up how, right? So I'm there really to talk to them about the why. And what I look at when I talk to them is look at what's happening in your local community. We get bombarded with a lot of federal office campaign materials and things, and that can be really overwhelming to young people because they can feel disconnected from that. So I try to bring it down to the local level and show them that, the bulk of decisions that impact your everyday life, those decisions are being made by people right here in your community. And COVID is a really good entryway to show people that, because when you look at the things that have happened in our community, the beach is closing, schools closed, mask mandate. All of those decisions were made by local folk. The president's a little busy. He didn't really have time to figure out if St. Pete Beach should be open or closed. That's not coming from up there in Washington. That's coming from here, right? So I always ask young people, what did you think about your school opening, closing, coming back, being online? However you feel about it, love it, hate it, somewhere in between. Know that somebody here in your community made that call, right? So if you're happy with the way they did it, you have an opportunity to say, you know what? I like how that process worked out. I want that person to stay in office. You get to decide that. If you're not happy with it, you get to decide, hey, I think your time is up. I want somebody else in that spot, right? And a lot of young people don't realize where jurisdiction lies when it comes to some of those decisions. They don't realize that, hey, the mayor made that decision or the city council made that decision. So when I explain that to them, it really kind of opens their eyes and they think, wow. I had one high school student who was like, yeah, man, I haven't been able to go to the beach. I'm not down with that. I'm like, okay, well.
Hey, cut out that beach time. It's time to make some moves. You're trying to shake it up.
Yeah. So like, you know what? The president didn't decide to close the beach.
Exactly.
It was these folks. So that's really how I see my job, is to really make those connections with the local community and open their eyes as to how much power they have to impact their everyday lives. Something else that I always tell them is, if you look at the bios of a lot of the people in Washington, so one of our senators, for example, Marco Rubio was a city commissioner at one point. So there was a city commissioner race in Reddington Shores. 195 people voted in that contest just a few months ago. 195 people. Right? So that's the same office that one of our senators used to hold, and now he's a senator.
Yeah.
So not only do these people have enormous power and control over what happens here in your community, but if you get to know your local officials, you'll probably see them again.
Oh, yeah.
And then in Congress, some of them become governors, some of them become presidents,
Yeah.
So you have power to see who makes it through that pipeline.
Yeah.
So if you pay just a little bit of attention to who these folks are here, you get to decide, do I want this person to be in the state house and Congress, so that's really how I see my job when I work with young people, is to make those connections, because I know they can be hard for someone who's never engaged with the electoral process. I know it can be hard to see those connections.
Right. Have you seen a lot of enthusiasm from the younger group this time, or is it about the same? Or I would think, like I said, with everything going on, it looks like everybody is fully engaged. You got all these voting initiatives, all these commercials and stuff like that. Are you seeing like a lot of energy coming from the younger group?
I was actually at Boca Ciega High School a couple weeks ago, and there was a young man who reached out to me, and I mean, he was almost begging me to come to his campus. He was like, I know it's COVID, and but he really just wanted me to come to campus. And so I went and sat in the library with my little mask on, because he was so enthusiastic that I couldn't say no. He wanted me to come during lunch when it was crazy and nobody was wearing masks, and I was kind of a little bit hesitant, but he was so persistent. And even his teacher emailed me and said, he's been trying to get you out here. Like, he's just been talking about it for so long. And I was so moved that he cared so much, even during COVID, that I dropped off applications before I went to campus, and he handed them out to all of his friends. So when I got there, all these people had already filled them out. I never encountered that before at a school, and he was just so enthused. I know. So I've seen a lot of young people like that who just want to be part of this process, be part of this election. So I think there's a lot of enthusiasm out there. But you have to meet students where they are. You have to meet young people where they are. They may not get excited about the same things you do, but that's okay.
Right.
I try and get excited, whatever gets them excited. I'm like, you know what? You want me to come out and just sit in the library? I'm going to do it. Let's go. Let's do it.
That's cool. That's very cool.
A resounding yes. Lots of enthusiasm.
Very cool. All right. So we're on the home stretch right here, right? So you already told us how soon we can vote. That's starting, was it October 19th? That's the earliest you can start?
That's the earliest you can go in person to our early voting location. Yes, but the mail ballots are already out there.
Okay. All right. So we got that. And then do me a favor, lay on us, what are the different ways you can vote?
Sure. So you can vote by mail, right? You have until October 24th to request that we send you a mail ballot in the mail. If you miss that deadline, you can still get your mail ballot. You just have to come to our office and pick it up. We just don't want to risk putting it in the mail after that, because it's just not enough time to get it to you and have it, come back to us. But if you request one before October 24th, we'll get it in the mail to you. You can vote by mail and return it to us through the post office, or you can drop it off at one of 25 locations. You can vote early. We got 5 locations throughout the county, including our 3 offices, October 19th through November 1st, 7 to 7. So no excuses. Every single, including weekends. We're there at 7 o'clock till 7 p.m. Come on out. And then on election day.
All right. How important is it to know your polling station, like where you're supposed to go? Because some people will probably try to go some other places, but there's designated spots where you're actually, like, I guess, regional areas or regional polling office or whatever, where you're supposed to go to cast your vote. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked me that question. So the registration deadline already passed, but you can change your address at any point, including on election day. So let's say you moved the day before the election, you can change your address, and here's why that's important. One, you want to make sure you're at the right polling location, but you want to make sure you're voting for the people in your community, right? So if you are living in Clearwater and you move down to a different part of the county, you want to make sure you're voting for your local officials, right? So I always tell people, if you're now living in St. Pete and you used to live in Clearwater, you don't want to vote for the mayor of Clearwater, right? You want to vote for your mayor.
Right.
So it's really important that we have your correct address. To avoid delays at the polls, I do encourage people, you can call us, you can go on our website and make that change, you can request it in writing. Please do that before Election Day. But hey, listen, life happens, it's all good. If you just didn't get to it and it's Election Day, you can do it on Election Day too.
All right. Well, there it is. That's good information. Fellow Marauders, we just had the culture shot with our guest, Liz Lebron, voter outreach manager for Pinellas County down here in beautiful Tampa, Florida. And she just laid a whole bunch of information on us. If you're just tuning in, unfortunately, this is the end. But good news for you, you'll be able to listen to it again on all the platforms that this is going to be uploaded to. So you're never too far away from some good culture marauding out there. So, but anyway, so we're wrapping it up. Liz, thank you so much for coming on. I know this. You said it's your first podcast, right?
It is. It's my first podcast.
Hey, you knocked it out the park. How'd we do? What do you think?
I love it. This is so. I looked at the clock. I'm like, oh my God, it's 7:51. I want to keep going.
It flies by. So yeah, I mean, we had some fun, and you got some very good information out to us as far as the numbers, as far as like the misconceptions and the myths. You know, debunking a lot of those. Just talking about the polling stations, the different ways you can vote. You know, the times. And the information. So before we let you go, you know, any final thoughts, and let us know where we can find you on social media, and also let us know where anybody looking for information can find that information.
Yeah. So the most important thing I want to leave everybody with, our website is votepinellas.com. It is the only website, it's the only place to get the official election information from our office. And it is super important because if there are any last minute changes, for example, if we have to change a polling location at the last minute, that's the place to look for it. That's the place to go. There are lots of places that try and give voting information, and that we appreciate it. We know they're trying to get out the vote, but the only place to get the official word is votepinellas.com. Our social media is Vote Pinellas. Look for hashtag Vote Pinellas. And you can always call us at 727-464-8683. And you can ask for me, Liz. They'll patch you right on through to me. If you have any questions, I'm happy to talk to you. But please, votepinellas.com. That's where you'll find all the official info from our office.
There it is. News you can use, fellow Marauders. So please take advantage of it. All right. Any shout outs? I know you got at least two.
I do. I want to give a shout out to all of the ballot production team members in our office. They have been working so hard for weeks preparing the mail ballots. Now they're processing the mail ballots, and they really are just the people. They're the heart of the operation. Our office are the ones that make it work. They work 12 plus hour days for months to pull off the elections, and they really are rock stars. So shout out to all of them. Shout out to all the people at the polling locations, and the best shout out to all of our poll workers. You know, COVID has been a challenge, but this community has just come through. We literally had thousands of poll worker applications because people were just, you know, they want to make sure this election happens. So thank you from the bottom of all of our hearts in our office to all of our poll workers. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for coming through one more time for this election.
There it is. Well said. Giving a shout out to all the people behind the scenes. And, you know, hey, shout outs, you know, from me and Rena. I know she went to go check on the kids and probably started dinner for them. They were getting restless. But shout out to my wife, my co-host on this episode, Culture Shot, Vote or Die. And shout out to you, Liz, for coming on and, you know, lending us a little bit of your time on a Friday night. I know you're tired from a long week, but thank you for coming on and, you know, laying some information on us and the listeners out there. Shout out to the listeners. You know, thank you. I know, like I said, I know we've been gone for a while. We're working on some big things, and we're going to be coming back here real soon, bigger and better than ever. And so just stay tuned. Stand by. Stay tuned. We'll be back. So you know, the healthcare workers, I know we're coming into flu season. Things are going to be ramping up, and we're going to really see what this pandemic is looking like. Hopefully, you know, it's not as bad, but you know, thank you for the work y'all have been doing, continue to do, and we know you will be doing here moving forward. Also, the essential workers that are still essential in my book. You know, you guys out there, you know, doing the work for us, making sure we got all the shelves are stocked, all those things that we take for granted on the daily that we didn't realize how much we needed until we didn't have it. The unsung heroes, as always, the trash collectors, the people, all those things that we need that we take for granted. Like I just said, thank you for the ones that do it in the military, who are not only in the middle of a pandemic, but, still deployed and all those things. Hey, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I know we're coming to the holiday season, and those of y'all that are away from family and loved ones, hey, we're with you. If we can give you a little bit of something, there's something that you want us to maraud on, let us know. Hit us up. There's a number of different ways out there you can contact us as Culture Marauders. Starting at Instagram at _culture_marauders. We post a lot of like weirdo stuff out there, but some good stuff too, just to have fun and keep you interested. So hit us up on there, comment and like, and hey, we'll take a couple follows too if you don't mind. Also hit us up on Facebook at the Culture Marauders. And then, you got something like I say, you want to maraud on something, hey, hit up Kels or Rena. Hey, can y'all dig into this and come up with this topic or something that you want to get on the show about? Hey, anybody can get on this show. Everybody has a story and we want to capture that. So hit us up at theculturemarauders@gmail.com. And last but not least, before we get out of here, I want to give a rest in peace to Eddie Van Halen, guitar god, guitar hero, passed away earlier this week at age 65 with complications of a lifelong bout with cancer. Shout out to his family. He was 1/4 of the band that was named after him and his brother Alex, namesake Van Halen. And you had Michael Anthony and David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar also filling in and out. But hits like Jump, Panama, Hot for Teacher, Why Can't This Be Love? I mean, endless. Formed in 72, found by Gene Simmons out in Pasadena, California. And the rest is rock history. So rest in peace, rock god, and we'll miss you. So with that, also signing off. So look, get out and vote. If you didn't get anything else from this, anything, not talking about Eddie Van Halen, not where you can find us, not all the other stuff. Get out and vote, regardless of who you vote for. Take advantage and exercise your right. Do it right and make a difference. So with that being said, Culture Marauders are signing off with a culture shot. Vote or die. And as always, we like to say one culture, one blood, one love. Peace.